really great business people are the people that embrace these type of rules and they just implement them quicker. So they just do it sooner and quicker. Wow. And I think that's why they win bigger.
Because they implement it sooner.
They do it sooner. They adhere to these things and realize it's right, and they actually do it. Because there's the ones we take and we do, and sometimes I'm like, man, the reputational damage for saying yes versus say, Mr. Smith, we're just not a fit.
Right.
Like sometimes send Smiths on to the next bank that they're competing for. You don't want to win every deal.
I bet if you don't implement those things when you're smaller and leaner, you're never going to implement them when you're big.
All right, another episode of Chasing Excellence, my man.
Another one.
You ready?
No.
So this one, you just push pause for those watching. You just, stop the previous recording, and we started having a conversation, and I cut you short.
Because you wanted me to.
We're gonna do this live, right?
Okay.
Don't leave the good stuff in the green room. It's like that old adage.
That's nice.
All right, we are going to talk filters. I have a coach, mentor, now friend. His big thing is filters. And who do you let in your life? Who do you let have your time, your energy, your resources, all those things? And you were starting to say, like, you're going to do your best, right? We're going to try to, I'll say my honest to God words, but yours were, to clean yours up, is you were trying to make sure you're focused on, whether it's on or want to stay away from.
Yeah.
What's the person that you just had a recent lesson or something that made you say what you just said in the green room to talk about filters and who you get to work with or who gets to work with you?
Yeah, I mean, people who have a long enough time horizon and aren't desperate. I think the big thing there for me was just, hearing disappointment that $100 of ad spend didn't yield anything. And it's like, this is the first time we've run ads. This is the first time you spent money on it. It's only been 2 weeks. It's not a lot of ad spend. There's a lot of these little caveats that, and in their mind, it's probably like excuses. But for me, it's just reality that these things take a long time to cook. These things take a long time to develop and build. Over the weekend, as I was kind of dealing with this, and this was all like a test thing anyway, so it's not going to go anywhere. But, over the weekend, literally washing dishes, I was thinking about it where, business owners have taken years to build their business to a certain level, have taken years to get to a certain place, and then expect social media or videos or whatever to like instantly overnight make them celebrities and make them a ton of money, even though it took them years to get to where they're going now. And so the lesson learned for me is to just be very clear on expectations before any recording happens, any shoot happens, any planning happens, is just being very clear on expectations with timelines and what you can expect in terms of seeing a quote unquote return on the investment. That's something that I haven't had to deal with in a while. Because I used to work with everyone that was desperate because I was desperate too, I was like, I'll be desperate with you.
You're desperate. I'm desperate. We're a match. Yeah. Let's go.
That's why I had a lot of clients. Had a lot of clients then, for very different reasons than I have now. And so, thinking through that and just realizing, I rushed into it. It was it's a niche that I wasn't really familiar with, and I was like, I'm willing to kind of give a little to kind of learn, but it ended up being a situation of desperation, and things just don't go well. When people are struggling in that way, I think, you can't think clearly. You're not 100%. Someone who has money to spend and a timeline to spend is usually going to be very open and very willing to try, willing to fail quickly. You lose a couple $100, no big deal, because the upside is literally tens of thousands of dollars. And just knowing that that's part of the process. I
think a lot of things you said in there, right? So just to unpack some of them.
Yeah, I said a lot. I unloaded on you.
But some of that is identifying the right client, like having an understanding with your filters of who do you want to work with, right? Whether it's the ICP, the ideal client profile, or whether it's your avatar, or whatever you want to use. It's understanding like who you want to work with, not just from a need standpoint, like here's the service and here's what they need. It's also, here's the characteristics of who I want.
Yeah.
Right. It's having that person defined and the type of business. And then secondly, I think it goes back to your process and setting expectations to say, look, here is my process. So it creates the filters.
Yeah.
Right. If the process is you have to do these things before we work together, or I have to do these things.
Mm-hmm. Right? Like me too.
I have to show you, here's the service level agreement, here's the contract, we are going to review all these things. And somebody may say, because I can absolutely right? I'll be the guilty one here, saying, we're good, let's go.
Yeah.
Right? I get excited, like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Alex, I trust you, we're good. And I can tell you the personality types that are my side, like the sales side, we love to be sold. I'm eternal optimist. Like, it's going to work.
Yeah.
Let's go. And so I won't listen or pay attention or even ask the questions that qualify you. So if I'm your client, I'll just say, let's go. And you say, great. And it's easy money. And it all seems great till we're a handful of months in. And then 5 months in, I'm pissed off. Right? If I spend all this money, whether it's $100 or $1,000 or $10,000, doesn't matter. But if I spend a substantial amount of money relative to me, whatever that means to somebody's budget, they're going to be very unhappy. And if you didn't do your process, right? If you didn't have your filters set up to say, here's what it is. Mark, I understand you don't want to do this, but this is part of how I work, and this is the process that's proven that gets results.
Right.
So at AMT Media, we're going to go over, and here's what we do. We do have to sit down. I know you don't want to. I don't want to either.
Yeah.
Because
Like for my 6-month program, for example, month 1 is all sitting down and like planning and meeting and strategizing. And I've had pushback from leads of saying like, you need a whole month. I do need a whole month, because we need to define what makes good content. We need to define who you're talking to. We need to define what you want them to do. We need to define if all the things in your back end are able to, handle the attention that we're going to bring to the table after month 2. I've overridden a lot of those.
Well, and just realize that if somebody's challenging you, your answer needs to give them the reason why they agree to it. Not just, in other words, it's not just, here's how I work. Well, screw you. I want to do something different. No, it's, hey, I've tried what you're suggesting. Oh,
yeah.
No bueno.
Because I've tried rushing into shoots, and then that leads to terrible editing and terrible experience.
This gets to where you and me have a harmonious relationship. We get here. Here's the expectations. No guarantees. This isn't about just the connecting that dollar spent to this closing. Right. It's the recognition, the name brand, you might get the random closing, but I think that's what makes your job really difficult. Is somebody spends all this money and looks up 4 months later and is like, this didn't work.
Right.
It worked.
You
just don't know how.
Right.
Yet.
One of the, and I think working with a client in Austin has really helped kind of open up where this goes for me. So he's your profession. He's a mortgage broker. And he had to revamp all of his social profiles because he was starting to get back into the world of originating loans, and no one knew that he was originating loans, right? So he was like, what's the easiest way to do it? It's going to be through social. Like, that's how I'm going to let everybody know that I'm back in business, baby, And long story short, what he told me, and very early on in the process of just selling, it became clear, like, this guy, he just wants attention. So this is great. How much are you willing to spend for that attention? Are you willing to spend this much, this much, this much? So we put the number on attention. 2-3 months into the program, I do a check-in with him. Hey, how's everything going? Just making sure, we're all good. He said, Alex, you won't believe it. I walked into a party this weekend, right? Usually when I walk into parties, everyone's just like, oh, hey, how's it going? Good to see you, blah, blah. He walked in, he said, it was 40, 50 people were going up to me. Dude, I'm seeing you all over social media. You're posting all these videos. I forgot you're originating loans again. It's so exciting to see you back in business. How can I help you? Da-da-da. Like, he started like 40, 50 conversations in one house party over a weekend. And hearing him say it that way, I was like, yeah, that was worth $9,000 for him.
100%.
That was worth $9,000-$10,000 for him.
100%.
Which is about what I charged him. And so then that becomes a conversation with me is, what are the opportunities you're missing? How patient can you be? And can you tie this amount of money to it? And if I can deliver on these two and you give me the money, then we're set. Mm-hmm. And so, that interaction with him really opened my eyes to, okay, now I know who to look for, who I can work with, what are the requirements, and what are the things that I can provide that are going to make this person satisfied, and then want to re-up and, hey, let's do this again, or let me connect. He's referred me people already. Like, how can you help my friends get this done as well?
Well, I think there's going to be 3 stages of a career, and I'm making this 3. I'm just kind of thinking out loud. In the beginning, to your point, you'll work with anybody. You're desperate.
Yeah.
Right?
If you have a credit card and you have a pulse, I'm working with you.
Yeah. Filters.
Yeah. That was 5 years for me.
If the money's green or it's crypto, either way, I'm taking it. Right. So I think that's the part where in the beginning years of any business or venture, there is no filter.
Yeah.
The filter is, can you pay me?
You just say yes. Yeah.
Can you pay me? Right. That's the filter. I think then, and maybe it's not 3 steps, so whatever number of steps, but I think then you progress into you start having some criteria of who you want to work with.
Yeah.
Right. And typically that's going to progress into the people you like. Just say like, oh, I like you. I vibe with you. I get this. Right.
Yeah.
Because the first people you're going to fire are the jerks.
Right.
Right. And then all of a sudden you realize, okay, you're working with people you like, but not all the time do people you like actually have the big dollars to spend.
Like you're not making that much money. So then, because that's exactly what it went with me. It went from desperation to okay,
work
people I like.
And
now it's like, but they need money too, though. you know?
And so then it's
That's kind of where I'm at right
it's
now.
like I'll sacrifice the like a little bit, not a lot, but that's where if there's 12 things I love about this guy, I only need 6 to 8 of them to be true qualifiers to whether I want to work with you. So then you work with people you respect. I think that's a different word, right? Because you don't have to like somebody to respect them.
Yep.
Like you can be a good dude. Like so again, I got guys that I know that respect the heck out of them. I don't want to go have a beer with them.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
They're just not fun. They're not. It's like they're just very serious, and that's not my style. But the reality is, I will go to the respect, but have a higher filter that says I can turn away business and be here. I think the fourth one, I said 3 because that's where I'm at, is 3. The fourth one we're all trying to get to is the point to where they come to you, and it does need to be everything. It needs to be all the 12 check boxes of I like you for all these reasons, and you have the budget and the money, and we work the same way. So it's like that Shangri-La. It does exist, and I've mentioned a few coaches and mentors in the past. Like one has it that way. Like 37%, or not 37%, 37 people made this guy, or not made, but he closed in real estate. He's a real estate broker, 140 million in transactions off of 37 people. Not individual like 37 transactions, but 37 people are who he takes care of in his world. And from that, they yield.
They give him
massive
referrals, the leads,
results.
this, that, yeah.
And they all help each other. So it's a network of brotherhood, like you and me in the sense that's like, for a fact, we do this for each other. Right? We'll go out of our way to make sure somebody that we know would be a good fit to connect them. And they have that in those 37. They found 37 like-minded individuals where they all complement each other and they just work really well together.
Wow.
Yeah, I texted him this morning. I was like, hey, man, I need a CPA that does this. He's like, on it. Make some great introductions. So to some really important people, too, like some famous authors you and I would know, and it's incredible. So I think that's the part of having that filter, even if you don't execute it all the time, at least having one to know here's what is that that piece that comes here, because I'll tell you, and this is why it's so appropriate. It sucks. I'm gonna have to. I gotta call an attorney later today. An investment I made. Didn't know the partner. There were 2 guys. Knew one. He was the buddy. Put fair chunk of change in there, and find out. And I knew the my guy split the partnership 6-8 months ago. Well, the transaction we were in just recently closed, and now the single owner of this thing who's running the whole damn thing, it's not doing what he should be doing. Oh my gosh! Like you're like and this is a good important lesson too, that says you can be right and still lose.
Yeah.
So in other words, I know for a fact that I got the letter of the law on my side for these things. But at the end of the day, if he declares bankruptcy or doesn't pay or does all this funny stuff, makes up these expenses, you're like, man. And look, it's hard. Like you're never gonna bat 1,000 in anything you do in life. But you don't invest money expecting to lose.
Yeah.
And so you start looking at this, and the reality is, it's the people. I invested with somebody I didn't know. I didn't even vet him. I vet the partner and thought, if I got the partner in there, he's going to help take care of me. Because I'd rather bet on people than projects.
Right.
And I'm learning that's not the way to do it all the time. Because you can't bet on projects. You can still have the right project and lose with the wrong people. So again, it's both. And I was talking to, my mentor, I think over the weekend, we were going back and forth. And he's like, anytime he's lost money, it's because he had the wrong people.
Wow.
Right? Whether it was his people running it or whether he was betting on somebody or invested with them, it's been the wrong partnership. And so I think it goes back to the clients because, again, even though it's transactional for what we do, if you and I do it right, it is supposed to be relationship-based. Not always. You'd like it to be. Sometimes it can be very transactional, and sometimes we want it to be transactional after you get to know somebody on the business side. But I think having a really good filter that says, here's the things, whether it's business, whether it's your personal life, whether it's investing, these are the things that have to happen in order for me to engage. And again, different stages of your career. I'm going to say there's 4 of them. The Shangri-La, 4th one. But for 3, for most people, it's going to be, I'll work with anybody who's got money. I'll then start working with people I like. And then ultimately, I start working with the ideal client. Right? It's kind of those 3. Ideally, you then work with people who are the ideal client. That's the 4 Shangri-La. But sometimes it's like, I don't have that option just to pay the bills.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's a great insight, and that's that perfect, like exactly those 4 levels that you talked about. I'm like in between level 2 and 3 right now. But yeah, it was 5 years for this. I feel like the time starts crunching up a little more because you just learn more about yourself and you start figuring things out.
I think the really great business people, whether it's the 10,000 hours or whatever it is, I think the really great business people, both in our business, which we can say are normal people, versus the Zuckerbergs and the Bill Gates, the Elon Musk, whatever. Like those guys are next level. So I'm not going to pretend to those. But the ones that I've seen do really well, are the people that embrace these type of rules and they just implement them quicker. You and I. So again, everybody's business is different. Mortgage world, if used to be in the old world, just survive for 2 years. If you can survive for 2 years, you're fine. Then 2 to 5, you can start to do something. After 5, you start taking it to the next level. Same thing for you, right? Survive the first 2 or 3.
Yep.
Then after year 5, you start becoming a better business person, and all of a sudden you become a real business person after 10, right? You're getting there. And I remember it's probably 8 to 10 for me too. And I hired somebody, and then it was about 2 or 3 years in, I think that's a replacement for that person. So that'd have been 10 years of my career. And all of a sudden, I became more of a business person.
Wow.
Right? As opposed to just the guy trying to figure it out.
Right.
I think the really good ones figure that out, or not even figure it out, just do it. Right?
Yeah.
You can know how to do something, just not do it.
Right.
So they just do it sooner and quicker.
Wow.
And I think that's why they win bigger earlier.
Because they implement sooner.
They do it sooner. They adhere to these things and realize it's
Yep.
right, and they
Yep.
actually do it. Because you and I will make the excuse like, well, I know I don't like this guy, but what a big paycheck. Like, you got a deal. It's like, hey, here's 4 times what I normally charge. You look back, you're like, that wasn't worth the money.
Yeah.
Because there's the loans we take and we do, and sometimes I'm like, man, this could the reputational damage for saying yes. Versus, hey, Mr. Smith, we're just not a fit.
Right.
Like, sometimes send the Smiths on to the next bank that they're competing for. You don't want to win every deal.
Yeah, and I bet if you don't implement those things when you're smaller and leaner, you're never going to implement them when you're big.
That's the only good news about this deal. The handful of deals, you do some deals, and these are outside of what I've normally done in the past. These are more investing. Again, I'm the passive, right? Everything I've done, not everything, but most everything I've done has been where I've been the one in charge or part of it. So this one, you're putting your faith in other people. And so, again, I'm just glad it's this dollar amount and not something.
Yeah.
That's just, again, I'd rather lose some these are painful. I'll remember this mistake.
Yep.
I absolutely remember this one, and I hope not to lose. Even if I lose a little, I'm okay with it.
Yeah,
I just don't want it to be a 0.
To kind of wrap this up, I'll bring it into personal life and how these things intersect. I hired a coach I probably shouldn't have hired for money that I did not have, and it was a good experience, but looking back, I was like, I'm a freaking idiot. I should have done that. I did it without talking to my wife too, which is not good, right? And I'll tell you why.
In theory, I agree with you, but at the same token, it's like well, get something done.
Right.
Like if you get, okay, keep going. I'm sorry,
but I'll tell you why. Okay, so what in the stage of life that I'm in with my family and kids and everything, and they're young, we're relatively young. I've just realized it's very important to be on the exact same page with my wife on things, right?
I agree.
I can be a little more loosey-goosey when,
I would sound like a jerk if I disagreed, but I'm
Right.
like, yes, but no. Keep going.
Right. Okay. Let me tell you this. I become very rash with decisions, right? And it's worked out more than it hasn't. Like I'll be honest, and my wife would admit that too. Like I get lucky. It's because I'm in the right place in the right time.
Preparation, opportunity.
Right.
That's luck.
I do. That
Keep
happens to me a
Keep
lot.
Going.
And so, but what we did talk about, because that happened in my worst year in business, which was 2 years ago. So it's like right before I met you, the year I met you, 2023. That was the worst year I ever had, and that's when it all happened. And so, we in talking since then, we just set up a new understanding, where if it's anything over X amount, just have a quick 1-minute conversation with me. It doesn't have to be like this dramatic, we got to sit down and what's the context in life and, how does it affect you?
Informational, or are we asking permission?
No, informational. Yeah. It's not asking for permission.
Fair.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm doing this. Just want to let you know.
Correct.
Here's what's happening.
And then and
guess
then
what? If they want to divorce us, it's going to be, hey, this is what's happening. Like it's going to be informational. Hey, you're a jerk. You
it's
lost all our
informational.
money.
But what's nice is she has the opportunity to talk me off the ledge. And if she sparks me with something that's like, yeah, it makes a lot of sense, I'll wait. So it literally happened today, where I had a big expense that will make a lot of sense for me to make. And we talked about it for 30 seconds. And I was like, yeah, I could probably wait a couple weeks. And it was a really nice way to kind of put that rule into action.
And that's one of your filters, right?
And it was a filter. It was a filter.
Have the right people, but that goes back to the system and processes now to know yourself.
And it's now a system. Exactly. Anything that's
System
over
is,
X amount,
I'm calling you.
I'm letting you know. I'm not going to ask for permission. I'm letting you know. But you have the opportunity to talk me off the ledge.
I love it.
And sometimes it works. Sometimes. And today it was one of those like, yeah, probably makes sense. And it does. And after thinking about it, it makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
So
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. You got to have filters. At the end of the day, personal life, professional life, for who you want to work with, who your clients, who you want to be. So
Yeah, where you want to be, where you want to go.
Your systems, your processes are there to help you make sure those filters stay in place. Having that third party, whether it's the wife at home or whether it's the CPA or business partner, having that person's huge. But at the end of the day, you got to have the filters.
Yep. Filters are big. All right.
Thanks for joining as always. Keep chasing excellence.
Over there. 4 angles.
And the mower.
And the mower back there. Shout out to the mower. He's doing great. All right.